Alright guys, just wanted to give you guys a couple tips. I don't know how this is on the 2Gs. I've owned 5 1Gs. I've never worked on a 2G. But in regards to taking the auto transmission out of the 1G, it's made a lot easier in my opinion if you've got a cherry picker. And then what you do is you just run a chain from the cherry picker down, and you'll see this little triangle piece on top of the transmission with a hole through it. So what I do is I take an old exhaust manifold bolt, run it through one side of the chain, through that little mount, through the other side of the chain, and then just put a bolt on it to keep that from slipping out. And then you just make the chain taut. Don't put a ton of pressure on it, but you just want it nice and taut so it's going to support the transmission when you start unbolting it. And then once that's secured, what you can do is start unbolting it. So you've got the two 14 millimeters up top, 14 millimeter down here in front of the on the front side. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of a bad angle right down there. And then the 12 millimeter on the other side, down by the block, on between the block and the firewall. And then the bolts that go into the transmission, there's 3 17 millimeter bolts right there, you can see. And then for the other side of the mount, you've got 4 14 millimeter bolts. You just remove these plugs. And what I've found is really helpful too is if you have one of these like furniture dolly things, mover dolly, right here, put that down there. So once you start unbolting and then lowering the transmission, you're not trying to beast it out from underneath here, because these things are really heavy. So this is extremely helpful for lowering it down. The same thing with reinstallation of the transmission. Instead of trying to jack it up and trying to twist it and push it up on, I mean, that's just incredibly difficult to do in my opinion. This balances it pretty well. I wouldn't call it a perfect balance, but it's a lot better than trying to get it on straight with a jack from underneath. So I guess opposite of removal would be the installation process. You would just wheel it under there, hook it up to the chain, and then just start pulling it up until you're in roughly the right area, and then twist it and push it on. So much easier that way. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, just comment or PM me or something. I've done this a few times. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I've definitely done this more times than I would like. And this method, using the cherry picker, I have found is just so much easier than trying to do it with a jack underneath the car.